Is there any pain more silent than being quietly dismissed by your own child? It's not a harsh word, not a shouting match. It's in the brief glance when their eyes shift away just a little too quickly. It's in the tone, so casual, as if your opinions no longer carry weight. It's in the cold silence that follows when they say, "You just don't understand, Mom." And you sit there, your heart skips a beat, your chest sinks just a little, and you wonder, since when did I become so small in front of my own child? You're not angry, you don't crumb, you just feel yourself shrinking, like a shadow fading in the evening light. You don't need to shout or demand respect. You don't have to prove yourself anymore. But you have every right to hold space for yourself, a quiet space that allows your child to hear their own heart again. Because sometimes the most powerful way to teach your child is to stop teaching altogether. I want to share 5 gentle ways, small, quiet things that can help your child pause, reflect, and reconnect with you without you having to say a word. If you've ever felt hurt by the child you love the most, stay with me here. A place where you don't have to pretend everything is okay, and where you know in your heart you are not alone in this experience. Let's keep going, not to dwell on the hurt, not to blame, but to gently guide your child back to that moment when they used to look at you with trust and unconditional love. Do you remember the last time your child fully believed in you? When they were little, just one word from you could fix everything. "It's okay, sweetheart," was all it took to calm their fears and make them feel safe again. But as they grew, something shifted. Your words didn't hold the same power. There were moments when their eyes grew cold, when their words made you feel small. Family psychologist Dr. Laura Markham explains that when young people enter the stage of asserting their independence, they often try to distance themselves from their parents' soft authority. They may dismiss advice, avoid emotional closeness, or act like the person who once meant everything to them no longer matters. Mrs. Diane, 67, from Ohio, shared her experience. "One day I just told my son to double-check his job transfer contract. He laughed and said, 'Mom, you talk like you know everything. It's okay, I've got this.' It wasn't the words, it was the way he said it, like I had no place in his life anymore." That night, standing in the kitchen, staring at the dishes, Diane realized something. In all these years, her son had never asked for her advice on anything important. If those little cuts keep happening, they not only erode trust, but also push parents further out of the circle of influence in their children's lives. But instead of reacting with anger or frustration, sometimes a softer approach is far more powerful. A gentle reminder of something your child once said as a child. "You're the only one I trust." No accusations, no demands, just a quiet reminder so they can hear the truth of their own heart. Because sometimes the way to reach a heart isn't through logic, it's through memory. And if your child isn't quiet enough to remember, perhaps the most powerful thing is to show them, you too have been hurt, just as they feel hurt now. There are times when no words are necessary, because it's in the silence that follows the pain that the heart begins to listen. Do you know what causes the most regret? Not being scolded, but when the person you love most suddenly falls silent. For many parents, when their children speak harshly, the instinct is to explain, argue, or even cry. But the truth is, when someone's heart has already closed off, every word you speak passes by like the wind. And in that moment, it's silence, when it's perfectly timed, becomes the strongest message of all. Psychologists from the University of California found that deliberate silence, paired with a written response, can reduce emotional defenses in others by up to 60%. In other words, people are less reactive and more likely to self-reflect when faced with a non-confrontational response. And that's exactly what happened with Daniel, a 35-year-old man from Seattle. He shared, "One day, I said something rude to my mom, raised my voice, disrespectful. She didn't say anything. A few hours later, I found a note on the kitchen counter. I'm not angry, I'm just thinking whether I should say anything more. That's it, but I was struck silent. I realized that my mom wasn't hurt by my words anymore. She was hurt because she wasn't sure if I was still listening." If she had gotten angry in that moment, I would have argued back and walked away. But because she didn't speak, my heart ached so much that I had to quietly step out and apologize. If you keep talking when your child is shutting the door of their mind, you'll just wear yourself out and they'll understand nothing. But if you stop, be silent at the right moment, and leave a simple, non-blaming note like that, your child won't hear it with their ears. They'll hear it through the guilt in their heart. Sometimes words lead to arguments, but silence makes people remember. If you've ever been in that moment or read a line that made your heart pause, leave just one word, Emma. I understand. And if you want to keep this story close, for those days when you need to remember how to listen, click follow on the channel. So next time when emotions rush too quickly, someone will gently remind you with a very light phrase that you are still here. When your words no longer reach your child, the gentlest way is to let them reflect on themselves through a situation where the roles are reversed. There's one of the most poignant punishments without a whip or harsh words. It's simply making someone imagine being treated exactly the way they just treated someone else. Older adults often say, when you have kids, you'll understand your parents' hearts. But there's no need to wait for that moment. There's a gentler and more effective way. Lead your child into the future with a simple question. Psychology calls this generational reflection. When someone is invited to step into the role of the person they just hurt, but in a reverse time context. Research from the Harvard Graduate School of Education shows when young people are guided to imagine themselves in the role of their parents, they significantly increase their ability to adjust their emotions and behavior. Kevin, 38, from Minnesota, once snapped at his mom, saying she didn't understand anything about this world. His mom didn't get angry or respond. She simply asked, if one day you're talking and your child interrupts you and says, Dad, you don't understand, how would you feel? Kevin shared that the question froze the whole kitchen. Not because his mom was blaming him, but because he saw himself standing in the very gaze his mom had just endured. Because if not reflected back, the habit of dismissing parents will continue to grow. And sooner or later, it will reverse itself in a role the child never imagined they'd play. No need to teach, no need to reprimand, just one question, at the right time, in the right place, can make even the oldest child turn back. Because the moment that touches the heart the most is when they imagine themselves becoming the one who's hurt. Sometimes what makes people change isn't being told what's wrong, but realizing they've just hurt the person who trusted them the most. Do you know the feeling of being disregarded by your own child? Sometimes it hurts more than being insulted by a stranger. It's not because they raise their voice. It's not because they argue. It's simply the way they look at you as if you're unreasonable, a nuisance, holding back their life. That gaze is what makes a mother feel smaller, lost, even in the very home she spent her life maintaining. We're not born to demand respect from our children, but when a mother has to remind her child, I deserve to be heard, it speaks to a deeper wound in her heart. According to a study by the University of Michigan, older adults often feel especially vulnerable in family conflicts when they perceive themselves as undervalued by their children, especially in the comfort of familiar spaces like the kitchen or living room. This feeling doesn't just cause temporary sadness. Over time, it can lead to diminished self-esteem, mild depression, and eventually cause parents to pull away from family relationships altogether. Mrs. Karen, 66, from Ohio, experienced this firsthand. One afternoon, she asked her son to bring a box of old items from the basement. He glanced at her and casually said, Mom, can't you just stop overreacting? It wasn't harsh, but the words hit her in a way that left a small yet deep ache in her heart. She didn't argue, didn't respond in anger. Instead, she quietly looked at him and said, I used to think I was respected by you more than this. No one spoke after that. The room was filled with silence for a long time. Her son didn't say anything. He simply stood up, took the box, and left. Had she reacted with anger, it's likely she would have just received annoyance in return. But by speaking gently, in a quiet moment of truth, she made her son pause. Because in a family, respect shouldn't need to be demanded. It should only need to be reminded in a way that encourages the other person to hold on to it. So if one day you feel weighed down by your child's attitude, take a moment to pause. Don't react in the heat of the moment. Don't get caught up in who's right or wrong. Just one sentence, honest and perhaps a little sad. It's not about making them feel guilty, but rather protecting your own heart from remaining silent forever. Sometimes as parents, we don't need an apology. We just need our children to realize, yes, children grow up. They may live far away. They may be better at technology than you, speak multiple languages, or use terms that are foreign to you. But that doesn't mean a parent's love becomes any smaller. And it certainly doesn't mean that the respect a child has for their parent fades with time. What a parent truly needs is not blind obedience. It's the assurance that they are still meaningful, that they are still being heard, and that they will always have a small, warm place in their child's heart, no matter how far they go. I hope after hearing this, you no longer feel alone. You have the right to feel hurt. You have the right to be silent when harsh words are spoken. And most importantly, you have the right to choose how to respond, not with anger, but with a calmness that makes your child pause and reflect on themselves. If this message resonates with you, hold on to it as a gentle reminder. And if you have ever found a way to make your child rethink their actions without raising your voice, please share it in the comments. Your story could be just the support another parent needs, someone who is silently struggling in their own quiet moments. If you feel this message could reach others who need it, please leave a like or subscribe so you can find more peaceful moments like this in the future. Thank you for staying with me until the end. And if you can, I hope you continue to carry that calmness with you, because sometimes your quiet, calm presence today will be the thing your child remembers when they become a parent themselves one day.